Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to the conversation, another episode. Now, today I got a really interesting topic for you guys. And this topic actually comes from one of our viewers. And he gave me the whole idea about this Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard. So the question is Kevin Durant better than Kawhi Leonard? So that's what I want to get into this video today. As you guys can see, the sun is setting a little bit, so that's why you see all of these shadows. Maybe I need to move the camera a little bit. It's hot as hell, that's why you see me sweating. But anyway, I'm going to put out this content and hopefully you guys like it. So before I get into the content, make sure you guys don't forget to go ahead and hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you go ahead and do that right now ASAP. We need your subscription. So let's get into it. So the question is that this viewer asks is Kevin Durant better than Kawhi Leonard? And I thought it was a very good question simply because it's not an easy question to answer. Why? Because both of these players are really great NBA basketball players. Kawhi Leonard is a great basketball player. I think all of us who watch basketball will admit as much. Kevin Durant is certainly one of the greatest basketball players of all time. All of us will agree on that. And it made me begin to wonder if I had to pick who would be better than the other person. Now, Kevin Durant is a multiple-time All-Star. I mean, he's been an NBA All-Star for 10-time All-Star. He's won a regular season MVP award. He's a 2-time NBA champion with the Golden State Warriors. He has 2 Finals MVPs. He's led the league in scoring, I believe, 4 separate times. He's also a member of the 50-40-90 club, meaning shooting 50% from the field, 40% from the three-point line, and 90% from the free throw line. So he's in rarefied air with that. He was also the NBA Rookie of the Year. And, you know, he was the one that sort of spearheaded the Golden State Warriors' last 2 championship runs. I think anyone that watched those series, all of us knew who the best player on the floor was during those, at least on the Golden State Warriors, because I know some people can argue that LeBron was the best player on the court. But Kevin Durant certainly played like the best basketball player in the world when he was with the Golden State Warriors in the finals. So he's definitely an accomplished basketball player. But now if we go outside of his accomplishments and we begin to look at his game, Kevin Durant is one of the most unstoppable basketball players in the history of the sport. Last season, last time we saw him, he averaged 26 points a game, 6.4 rebounds, and 5.9 assists. Now, on the face of those numbers, you're like, okay, there's nothing really exceptional about that. But then if you begin to now look at his efficiency, this guy shoots close to 50% from the field. He shoots close to 40% from the free throw line, and he's very efficient. Kevin Durant is like a technical basketball shooter. If you watch him, he's a pure shooter. He doesn't waste a lot of energy in dribbling. He's very quick to go into his move. He is basically a threat from the minute he crosses half court. Now, some people may listen to that and say, well, okay, so is Trae Young. No, he's not. Trae Young can chuck up 3-pointers from all over the court. That's completely different. You can put a bigger player on Trae Young, like a really good small forward defender, and he's going to give Trae Young some problems. But there's nobody really you can put on Kevin Durant that's really going to stop him. If you look at Kevin Durant, most of the time that he scores, it really has nothing to do with the defense that you're playing on him. It's really him just missing all on his own. Why is that? Because the dude is basically 7 feet tall. He's 6'10". By the time he puts on his basketball shoes, that probably adds another inch to him. So when he's basically 7 feet tall, when the guy shoots, you have to think of the release point of his shot. Who's going to really block that shot when he's shooting? No one really. So a lot of the times when Kevin Durant doesn't score, it really has nothing to do with you. Another thing is Kevin Durant has actually improved quite a bit on the defensive end of the floor, especially ever since he went to go play with the Golden State Warriors. His block started going up per game, and he really started to make himself a presence in the paint because of the type of brand of basketball that they played with, with the Golden State Warriors, with Draymond Green, all these guys on the floor, with all of the spacing that all of these people provide on the court. So Kevin Durant turned out to be a very good rim protector. I don't think he's necessarily a great on-the-ball defender like Kawhi Leonard is, and doesn't have necessarily the lateral quickness or the defensive instincts like Kawhi Leonard does. But nevertheless, he's still a really good defender. But his offense is better than his defense. Let's just say that. Kevin Durant is known more for his offense and his clutch play than anything else, which now brings me to Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is known to be a two-way player. Now in his career, he's quite accomplished. He himself is also a two-time NBA champion, two-time NBA Finals MVP, just like Kevin Durant. So he's just as accomplished when it comes to championship jewelry. He's a 4-time All-Star to Kevin Durant's 10-time All-Star status. He's been on 4 All-Defensive teams, but he's also won 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, which Kevin Durant has not won, and I don't think Kevin Durant is ever going to win a Defensive Player of the Year award. So Kawhi Leonard definitely begins to separate himself, or really distinguish himself from Kevin Durant when we start looking at the defensive side of the court. Now, this season he's averaging 26 points, 27 points a game, 7.3 rebounds, and 5 assists. So him and Durant's numbers are quite similar, although Durant, actually his numbers are a little bit better than Kevin Durant, although Kevin Durant is averaging just a little bit more assists than him, which also speaks to the versatility that Kevin Durant has, because you have to think Kawhi Leonard is now really starting to show that he's a really great facilitator. In the past, he didn't do that on a consistent basis. So Kawhi Leonard himself is also an efficient shooter. He's shooting 47% from the field this year, 37% from the three-point line, and 89% from the free throw line. So when we now begin to choose between who do we think is better, I think we're actually splitting hairs. And ultimately, I think the way to answer this question comes down to preference. Because as a huge Kawhi Leonard fan, there's so many cases that can be made for somebody saying that Kevin Durant is, but not so many, but there's a good case for saying that Kevin Durant is better than Kawhi Leonard. But if you're a Kawhi Leonard fan, you can also point to some cases. For some people, they'll say Kawhi Leonard is not the offensive machine that Kevin Durant is. And that would be true. But Kevin Durant is not the defensive powerhouse that Kawhi Leonard is. Kawhi Leonard played Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's probably the most physically opposing basketball player in the world. He played him face up in the playoffs last year. Face up. Like, he was playing him. Obviously, he had some help defense, but Kawhi Leonard was strong enough to stand in front of the Greek Freak. And the Greek Freak is a legitimate 7 foot tall. And if you watch Kawhi Leonard and the Greek Freak standing next to each other, the Greek Freak has a good amount of inches over Kawhi Leonard. But he was able to hold his own against a player like that. Now, for this question really to be answered, I think Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant really have to go at each other in the finals, right? They have to go head to head with each other. And Kevin Durant now being with the Brooklyn Nets in the East Coast, that could one day probably be a possibility, because Kawhi Leonard does play with the LA Clippers, who are one of the top teams in the Western Conference. And a lot of us are expecting that when Kevin Durant comes back, alongside with Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan, that team is also going to be an Eastern Conference powerhouse. So there's a really good argument to be made that in the future, we could possibly see a Brooklyn Nets Clippers NBA Finals. And when you have something like that, and you have these two players going at each other in the finals, sort of like when Michael Jordan went up against Magic Johnson in the final, and mostly everyone walked away from that series saying, okay, MJ is the best player, and even Magic Johnson admitted as much. I think this is the best way to really answer this question, because for me, an argument could be made that Kevin Durant is the best player in the world, and an argument could be made that Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the world. And to me, I think it all comes down to preference. I like the fact that Kawhi Leonard can play both sides of the court at a really high level. But if you need somebody to go and give you 50 at any given moment, Kevin Durant is more likely than not going to be that person that's going to be able to do that. So again, I think it all comes down to preference and who you like. So what I want to know from you guys is, between these two players, do you think that Kevin Durant is better than Kawhi Leonard? And if you do, tell me why. Or if you think Kawhi Leonard is better than Kevin Durant, please let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. I really want to know what you guys think about this topic. Again, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.